Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Built by Ben. Today we're going to be doing a kitchenette install, or at least the first bit of it. I'm going to be showing you how to set out the kitchenette, and we're also going to be cutting the extractor hood into the first unit that you can see on the top there. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for tuning in again, and if you're new here, subscribe to the channel and tell your mates about it. If you like and comment on the video as well, it really helps me out, so thanks very much. So we're just going to dive straight in here. I'm just doing some measurements to see where the bottom of the unit comes to from the floor. I was just basing this on the room height really. There's no real measurement to go by, it's just what you feel comfortable with. You want to make sure that you're not going to bash your head on it when you're making food, but you also want to make sure that you're going to clear the ceiling. So the things that I'm installing here are the wall hooks for this unit. There's some little clips that go up on the wall which I'll show you in a bit. But these things, they come pre-drilled. This is a symphony kitchen I'm fitting here. I've never fitted one before, but they come pre-drilled ready for these hooks. I'm just going to flip over to the GoPro footage now so that I can show you a bit close up how they go in. As you can see, you've got your holes down the side there, and you've already got a nice little slot that's been routed into the back panel of the units. And that little slot then gives you access with a screwdriver from the front once you've fitted it to the wall to then jack it up or let it off, and also tighten it back to the wall. So it's a nice little feature on these kitchens. Not a lot of other people do that. I don't think anyone else does that. Most people just sort of let you sort that out by themselves. But anyway, going back to the second camera now. Now what I didn't do here was allow for the little tiny bit of the windowsill, which you can't really see from this camera. But all I did was chuck the wall unit right up to the right hand side, butted it against that wall, because at this point you're not really thinking about what your base units are doing, but maybe if a few of you have done the same mistake before, then you might know what's going to happen a bit later in the video. But I'll let you try and work that out for now. If any of you have got any tips about setting out, then obviously chuck it down in the comments. We can all help each other out fitting these things. Just as a bit of a habit really, you end up just putting these things right up against the right hand wall there. Just checking that they sit against the wall, making sure it's all square. So at this point what we're doing is just measuring to them little hangers. So I'm coming about 25mm away from the wall there, so that we're level with that clip, that first little clip, because the thickness is about 18mm on the side of that cabinet. So we want to come 25mm away from the wall, and that will be the right hand side of the little wall bracket where that starts. And then we're measuring then from one bracket to the other and marking that second bracket on the wall, ready to screw them to the wall. This next little clip coming up, I'm just showing you the bracket up close to the camera. It's like a little hook, if you can see that properly. And then them tiny little clips on the back of the cabinet there, just hook over them, and that's what lets you then adjust it, pull it back to the wall nice and tight, and job's a good one. Just setting up the Festool extractor there. I've got a neat little attachment for drilling holes in the walls, especially when it's already been painted. Can't stand it when tradies go into red brick or go into anything really and just let it all fall down the wall. So I've got this little attachment that I'll show you with the camera now. It's like a little suction cup that goes on the end of the hose, and it just allows you to suck that to the wall, and the little circle that you saw on the top there, that's actually where you drill your hole through. So you can see it attaches to the end of the hose. I've actually got a little Bluetooth button on the end of the hose there as well that turns the extractor on, so I haven't got to keep on getting up and down and turning the hoover on and off. They're expensive, them buttons, they're about 50 quid, but I tell you what, it doesn't half save your back and just saves getting up and down, saves a lot of time in a day, so it's probably paid for itself already. But you can see we'll just turn that on, that sucks to the wall, and you can just drill your hole through there, and all of the dust falls down into that suction cup and is caught in the extractor. So you've got a mess-free hole in the wall. If you want to be a nice, tidy tradesman, I highly suggest getting one. They're not that expensive, the suction cups. I think they're about £20 off Amazon. But I'll stick all of these things in the description of this video so that you can have a look. If you click on the link, it'll take you straight to the Amazon shop where you can buy these bits from Festool. So we'll just get the rest of them holes drilled there. I did want to say a little bit about that Festool tool belt that I've got as well. As you can see, I haven't got the shoulder straps on. This particular day was boiling hot, so it's another good feature about that Festool harness is that you can just take them shoulder straps off if it is boiling. I find also when I'm doing a lot of work sort of overhead, them shoulder straps sort of dig into your neck a little bit, so yeah, you can just take them off, use it as a normal tool belt. I do keep getting asked to do a video about that tool belt, I just haven't got round to it yet, but I will do it at some point. Just plugging up the holes here. It was a stud work wall, however it was double boarded, so the plugs still work to treat. Sometimes if it's a single boarded, it's a bit sort of hit and miss whether you can get a good grab, but I always find that with a double boarded wall, as long as you don't go in with a 5mm screw, you're going with a 4mm, and it doesn't expand it too much, and just gets a nice tight grip in there. So for this installation that's absolutely fine. I can remember that I actually got one of the screws straight into the stud anyway, so it's not going to go anywhere, but just so you know, for the future you can, in a double boarded wall, get a plug in there. But you've got to be the judge of it yourself really. If you don't feel like the screw has grabbed very nicely, then don't use it. Come up with a different method, get a plasterboard fixing in there. You know, sometimes I put a raw plug in, but I cover it with expanding glue before I bang it in, just so that it, you know, gets a bit of extra grab and won't pull the plug out over time. Yeah, tell me your methods. If you've got any other methods, get it down in the comments. I'd like to hear from you. Alright, so we're just screwing them plates up now. Getting ready to hook that unit on. There is an extractor fan to go into the bottom of this little unit, but for now I was just sort of testing it out, getting the first one up, making sure that it all fits up there nicely. Always use that right hand one as a starting point. And then what you can do is you can build off the side of that one, then do all your measurements from that one, basically use that as your sort of solid point that doesn't move after that point of fitting. So we're just going to spin that round and get that on the wall. And we just iron that up, and then obviously when you're ready to get that back to the wall and all sorted, Then you can just open the door up, get a screwdriver into them access points that I showed you earlier, and you can tighten them hooks up, pull it back to the wall, and you can raise it or lower it to the laser line that I've got shooting around the top there that you can just see. Always use a laser on this sort of application. I can't get away from using a laser. So much easier than using a level, fumbling around with it. You can also mark these units if you know, drop your level off of them, or just lasers are the best thing going at the moment. I can't stress that enough. If I see a tradesman using a level these days, I just want to buy him a laser. Right, so we just chuck that unit back down then so that we can work on the bottom of it. We've got the extractor hood there, which we've just got to mount into the unit. So we're just taking measurements. It did come with measurements, but I always just like to check it. I think sometimes they give you the measurements on these things and it might be an old sort of instruction manual that they've just kept for the newer models, and sometimes the size just isn't right. Usually only by a few mil, but it's just worth checking them things. Get your own tape measure on it as well, because sometimes your tape measure reads different to other people's, so you can be 1 or 2 mil out like that as well. And we're just going to transfer that size. Find your centre point first, transfer that size onto the bottom of your wall hung unit. And then once you've got that, we're going to get the jigsaw out and we're going to show you how to cut that one out. Right, so we're just grabbing a drill here with a spade bit in the end. We're just going to do a hole on all 4 corners of the cutout so that we can get the jigsaw in. Sometimes if you try and turn these corners too tight with a jigsaw, then you can bend the blade a little bit and you end up putting a little bit of an angle on your cut. So I just like to drill the 4 holes. That just releases the blade at each corner. And if you do need to square it off, it's easy done. You can just run your jigsaw into that corner anyway, so if you can leave them with a small radius on, just leave them. But we're just going through them. I know that the inside will never be seen, so I'm just going all the way through with that spade bit. It doesn't matter if there's a tiny bit of breakout on the other side. The DeWalt spade bits that I use without the sort of sharp wings on each side are actually really good for breakout. They minimise it quite a lot. Alright, so we just start off with a jigsaw here. Just slowly work our way across the unit here. Trying to get minimal breakout again with it. What you don't want to do at this point is just go hell for leather. You end up smashing these materials apart, especially this sort of laminated chipboard that these things are made from. A lot different to MDF. MDF is a lot more solid and it seems to hold a lot better with the jigsaw, but this stuff, if you force a blade through it, it will just break it to bits. But what we're going to do here is flip over to the GoPro so that you can see that close up. So here we go, we're just finishing off what you can see, just squaring them corners off like I said. Can't leave the radius on this application, sorry, just a little bit out of camera there. It's hard with a GoPro to actually concentrate on the work and try and film it at the same time, but do my best for you. You can see just that last little cut in there. I think the reason, or another reason I was going slow with this, is because I had a down cutting blade on it, and if you don't keep pressure on that, they do just jump everywhere. As you can see, that's cutting through there nicely, absolutely minimal breakout. And there's also a small rebate on the extractor hood as well, which then covers any breakout that there is, so you've got a little bit of leeway there. Don't forget to support the material in the middle there when you make your last cut with your jigsaw, because otherwise that last little corner bit that you get to just gets too weak to hold on to the weight, and you'll get a huge bit of breakout in the corner. So there, we'll take that centre part out. Next little job to do is just to offer the extractor fan in, see how it fits. Right, so we'll chuck it in, have a quick look, make sure that that rebate covers any breakout that there was. We'll just take that bottom plate off of that extractor fan, or extractor hood, sorry. There, we just pop that off. Then we can get all the fixing kit. The fixing kits are usually hidden inside these, in case you are doing this yourself and you don't know. Sometimes you search around for ages for them and sit on hold to the company, and then they tell you just to pop the lid off and find them. So it'll save you an hour or so if you're doing one of these yourself. I'll just chuck that away because we don't need instructions, do we? We're watching my video, so we don't need them. And there's your little fixing screws. Another little cool thing that I've got, that Festool sustainer with the drawers in it. I think that's the 12 drawer one. Just got all my little bits in there. Saves me going back and forwards to the van all the time, which everyone knows is a pain. You can just keep all your different bits in there. I've got drill bits, spade bits, Allen keys, all the little bits you need to hand. But anyway, we'll get this in so that we can show you how to fit it. It's fairly simple anyway, you've probably guessed already if you don't know. But that just goes in there, you centralise it, find your best fit, make sure it's the right way as well. You don't want to put front to back. So you've got to make sure that your buttons, or however your hood looks, I always look for the buttons, and if the buttons are at the front of the unit, then you're probably somewhere right. And all I was doing here is just checking where that flue has then got to exit the top of the cabinet. I was just measuring to the back of the flue so that we can mark that out. I'm purposely trying not to fast forward too much, because sometimes these little details can be missed, and then some people that are trying to use this as a bit of an instructional video then miss the bit that they really wanted to know. So bear with the video, skip through the little bits that you don't need to know if you don't, and we'll just play it like that. So I've got a rough measurement of where that flue had to go from the back of the unit to the front of the flue, so we can mark that up. And then I think what we did is we just transferred that on with a compass. And then we're going to switch over to the GoPro again, just to see the jigsawing of that. So we've flipped the unit over there and we're just using the compass to get the diameter of the circle that we need to cut out. And then again we're just going to chuck that spade bit into the drill, just so that we can get that jigsaw blade in there to get us started. You might notice I'm just giving that spade bit a little wiggle as I'm going in. I find that they always bite a lot easier if you just rotate it as you're going through. What that also stops is that sometimes with a spade bit, if you just put too much pressure on it but you're not rotating it, giving it a bit of a wiggle, sometimes it just pulls through all of a sudden, absolutely busts through everything that you're trying to get through. So you just give it a little circular motion clockwise as you're going through, and it just helps it bite and helps it take off, you know, a small part at a time, so that you're not, you know, smashing the material to bits. And then again we're just going around really slowly with the jigsaw. We just cut out that hole ready for that flue to go through. So again, you just got to support that material that you're cutting out. If you put that hole in the middle, you can use that as a finger hole like you just saw, so that you can just grab it before it drops, because otherwise you get that big bust out again, which you just don't want. Give it a nice little hoover up, and then we'll reinstall the extractor hood, get it hung back on the wall. So we're just using them little screws from the fitting kit. They're fiddly little things. I should have put a shorter bit in really to screw these in. See, I'm getting a bit of a wiggle before I'm managing to get a bite, but as long as you're keeping control, try not to slip off of the thing, and you should be fine. I don't think I've got enough screws for every hole, but just spread them around, make sure that the weight's distributed evenly when you turn it back upside down. As long as them screws are holding everything, that'll be absolutely fine. Now we just get that grill pop back onto the bottom of it. Make sure that's the right way, so that your little lenses there match up with where your bulbs are. Then you want to just turn that back over carefully. Make sure your flue lines up with the hole that you cut nicely. Then we're going to bang that back on the wall. I hope you've enjoyed the video this week. Like I said, like the video, comment on it, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next week for part 2 of the install.